My name is Batman, and today I am surrounded by 20 superheroes to debate the no-kill rule. The no-kill rule is what separates heroes from vigilantes. Once you cross that line, there's no coming back. You become a murderer yourself.
You live in a fantasy world, Batman. I've seen what happens when criminals walk free. They kill again, they destroy families. They spread like a disease through society. Your precious code doesn't save innocent lives. It just gives criminals second chances. I've lost everything because the system failed me, because people like you believed rehabilitation was possible for the irredeemable.
The difference between us is exactly what I'm talking about. You operate from pain and grief. Understand that, Punisher. But emotions cloud judgment. I've built my code on principle, not revenge. Yes, some of my enemies have hurt people. Yes, some have escaped and hurt others. That tragedy lies with the system's failures, not with my refusal to become a killer. The moment I start executing criminals based on my prediction of their future actions, I become judge, jury, and executioner.
It ends when the scumbags stop breathing, that's where. Your system has allowed serial killers to continue their work, has let drug lords poison entire neighborhoods. I've seen the evidence. Every criminal I've permanently stopped is one less threat to society. You talk about judgment and principle, but you're just afraid. Afraid of becoming like me, afraid of the power it takes to do what's necessary. But fear doesn't keep people safe, actions do. Your code is a luxury for people who haven't lost everything.
You're proving my point by calling it a luxury, Punisher. Justice shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a right for everyone, regardless of who's enforcing it. The moment we accept that might makes right, that killing is justified because we believe it's necessary, we've abandoned the very civilization we claim to protect. Yes, my code is idealistic. Yes, it costs lives. I don't deny that painful reality. But your path costs something infinitely more valuable, our collective soul. Absolute morality cannot justify absolute violence. Even those who deserve punishment have the right to live, because justice itself must remain pure.
Purity. That's a joke. You speak of absolute morality, but you compromise it every single day. Your no-kill rule is selective morality. You'll break bones, cause permanent disability. Destroy lives through trauma, all while claiming you never crossed the line. I deal in absolutes because the world doesn't operate in shades of gray. Evil is evil. There's no reform for a pedophile or a mass murderer. They're blots on the world that must be erased. Your compassion is cruelty to their victims.
You're right about one thing. I do draw a line, and yes, I'm the one drawing it. That's the burden I accept. But here's the critical difference. I'm aware of that responsibility and constantly question myself. You've convinced yourself that your certainty absolves you of accountability. Rorschach, you're a deeply broken person. And I say that with respect because you're also dedicated. But your absolutes are a shield against doubt, and doubt is what keeps us human. You've decided that some people are irredeemable, but you're not God.
Redemption is a lie we tell ourselves to sleep at night. I've seen too much, know too much about human nature. There are people walking this earth whose only redemption is death. Your compassion is a failure of nerve. You want to believe people can change because the alternative, that some evil is permanent, is too horrifying to contemplate. So you hide behind hope. But I've studied killers, analyzed their psychology, understood their nature. Some don't deserve second chances, they deserve erasure. You call it playing God. I call it being responsible.
The difference between us, Rorschach, is that I can admit when I'm wrong. I can acknowledge that my code might cost lives, and I carry that weight every single day. You've become so certain of your righteousness that you can't see the fundamental arrogance in believing you can judge who deserves death. History is full of people who were absolutely certain they were right about who should die. That certainty is what fuels genocide, terrorism, and tyranny. Yes, some of my enemies have escaped and hurt people again. Those failures haunt me, but I refuse to become a serial killer with a philosophy. My code isn't weakness, it's the hardest thing I do. My third claim is, a true hero finds solutions without killing because the moment you take a life, you've surrendered your right to judge others' actions.
I respect your conviction, Batman, but you're operating from a position of human limitation that I don't share. As someone with godlike powers, I have the responsibility to protect Earth in ways you can't comprehend. I've spent years trying your way, restraint, capturing enemies, trusting the system, and it's failed catastrophically. Krypton destroyed itself partially because we refused to make hard choices about population and resources. I refuse to let that happen to Earth.
Superman, the fact that you have godlike power is precisely why you need a code more than anyone else. Power without moral constraint isn't heroism, it's tyranny. You say your code has failed, but what you mean is that your unlimited power couldn't solve every problem. Welcome to the human condition. I work within impossible constraints every day, and I don't get to blame my limitations for abandoning my principles. The moment you decide that you, a god among men, get to decide who lives and dies, you've become the greatest threat Earth has ever known. You're already starting to sound like it, justifying cosmic scale executions because the problems are too big for your rules. That's exactly how dictators think.
You're speaking from experience with street-level crime, Batman, but you haven't stood where I've stood. You haven't watched civilizations burn or had to make decisions that affect billions. Your code is built on the assumption that all problems can be solved through non-lethal methods, but that's not reality for someone of my power level. Doomsday couldn't be arrested or reformed. He had to be stopped permanently. If I hadn't made that choice, millions would have died. Your judgment from Gotham's rooftops doesn't translate to planetary threats. I've earned the right to make these decisions through countless sacrifices and battles. I don't take killing lightly, but I will do it when necessary to protect innocence.
Superman, that's your most dangerous statement yet. The moment you believe you've earned the right to kill, the moment you think your power justifies your decisions, you've become what I'm afraid of most. Not a villain, something worse. A god who thinks he knows better. Yes, Doomsday was a terrible threat. Yes, impossible choices exist. But even in those moments, you have to maintain your principles or they mean nothing. You say you'll only kill when necessary, but necessity is subjective. Today it's Doomsday, tomorrow it's a supervillain who might be a threat. The next day it's anyone who disagrees with you. I'm not judging you for difficult decisions. I'm warning you about the slope you're standing on. My final claim is, with great power comes great responsibility, and that responsibility includes refusing to take lives, no matter the provocation.
I actually agree with you, Batman, which is why I need to push back on something I've been thinking about. I've stuck to the no, kill rule my whole career, and I've seen it hurt people. I let Green Goblin live, and he came back more dangerous than ever. I've faced villains who kill dozens while I carefully restrain myself. There's a moral cost to that restraint that we don't talk about enough. Those victims, the ones we could have saved if we'd made a harder choice, their blood is on us too. I'm not saying we should be executioners, but I'm starting to wonder if absolute principle in a world of relative suffering is itself a form of cruelty.
Peter, I hear the guilt in your voice, and I understand it. Believe me, I do. Every criminal I've left alive who goes on to hurt someone, that weighs on me. But you're falling into a trap. And I say this as someone who loves you like a brother. The guilt you feel for things beyond your control is natural, but it shouldn't push you toward becoming a killer. That's not courage. That's surrendering to despair. Green Goblin is more dangerous because he learned from fighting you, not because you were merciful. Yes, some victims could have been saved if you'd crossed that line. But other victims would have been created by the precedent you set. You'd become someone who picks which criminals deserve death, and who watches the watcher.
Maybe I'm just feeling the weight of the job and looking for an escape. But I can't shake this feeling that our code has a human cost we ignore. When I swing past Aunt May's house, I think about how easy it would be to prevent so much suffering with just one harder choice. I know you deal with this every day in Gotham, which is why I'm asking, how do you live with that? How do you sleep knowing that your principles have a body count? Is the moral purity of your code worth the actual people who suffer because you maintain it? I want to believe in what you're saying, Batman. I want to believe that maintaining this line actually makes us better heroes. But some nights I'm not sure anymore.
Peter, the answer to your question is I don't sleep well. I haven't slept well in years. Every victim I couldn't save, every criminal I released who hurt someone again. They're all with me when I close my eyes. That's not weakness. That's the price of maintaining your principles in a world that doesn't reward them. Yes, my code has a body count. So does every code. The question isn't whether maintaining principles costs lives. Everything costs lives in this world. The question is what kind of hero you want to be, and what kind of world we want to create through our choices. If I start killing for convenience, I teach Gotham that killing is acceptable. If you do it, you teach the next young hero that compromise is wisdom. My code creates a world where people are held accountable without being executed. I've walked away from this debate much like I walked in, convinced that the no-kill rule is the foundation of everything I stand for. But I'm grateful for these conversations because they reminded me why this principle matters so much.